Everybody loves a good mystery. But what happens when a mystery never hits its satisfying ending? You will always be wondering what happened that day. The following unsolved police cases are strange, creepy, and frustratingly without a conclusion. They are some of the most baffling unsolved mysteries of our time. Number 1. Maura Murray's disappearance. On February 9, 2004, University of Massachusetts student Maura Murray crashed her car on Route 112, an icy road in Woodsville, New Hampshire. She was never seen again. 14 years later, Murray's case has turned cold, and her disappearance continues to be a mystery. Murray's friends and family have described the 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐿 as an all-American girl and a model student, athlete, and daughter. Murray had attended West Point before transferring to UMass Amherst to study nursing, and was planning to marry her high school sweetheart Billy Rausch, who was stationed at Fort Sill in Oklahoma. But other parts of Maura's life remain a mystery. It does seem clear, however, that Murray's life wasn't as picture-perfect as it seemed on the outside. It remains unclear why she left West Point. Some investigation has suggested that she may have been asked to leave for an honor code violation, possibly related to a shoplifting incident. Her troubles continued during her time at UMass, as just a few months before her disappearance, Murray was charged with improper use of a credit card for possessing and using stolen credit card numbers. In the days before she disappeared, Murray reportedly emailed professors and her job to tell them that she would not be attending class or work due to a death in the family, which was not true. Why did she lie? And why was she leaving town? The night of her disappearance, Murray drove her Saturn up Route 112. The car had been having problems, the road was icy and bordered by snowbanks. A local school bus driver was on his way home when he came across the wrecked Saturn and a woman matching Murray's description, shortly after 7 p.m. He offered to help, but she insisted that she had already called AAA and would wait for them in her car. The bus driver, skeptical of her claim, was aware of the spotty cell phone reception in the area, called the police after he got home. Police arrived at 7:46 p.m. They found the Saturn, but Murray was gone. There were no sightings of any other vehicles and no footprints in the fresh snow. The area had been searched many times over the years, but no trace of Maura has ever been found. The night before her disappearance, she had dinner with her father, Fred Murray, and by all accounts was behaving normally. After dinner, Murray dropped her father at his motel room and borrowed his Toyota Corolla to attend a dorm party. She left the party at around 2:30 a.m. on Sunday, February 8th. And on her way home got into a car accident running into a guardrail. Her father said that she was distressed by the accident, but said he told her not to worry about it and assured her that insurance would cover the damage. He told her to get accident forms to fill out, and according to reports, she stopped at some point during the day to pick up accident report forms from the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles. That afternoon, she withdrew $280 out of an ATM, then went to a liquor store and bought Bailey's, Kahlua, a box of red wine and vodka. The receipt was later found in her wrecked car. During the investigation of the abandoned car, police also found a Coke bottle that smelled as if it had contained an alcoholic beverage, and noticed red stains in the car that appeared to be red wine. Investigators found many personal items belonging to Murray inside the car, but her debit card, credit cards, and cell phone were missing. At 4:37 p.m. that afternoon, the last known phone call was made from Murray's cell phone and was used to access her voicemail. Over the years, there have been several reported sightings of her, including one in Montreal and a possible picture of Murray, but none of the sightings have ever been verified. Number 2. The Lars Midtank mystery. What began as a carefree Eastern European vacation ended in a family's worst nightmare, and a mystery that endures to this day. Lars Midtank, a 28-year-old from Berlin, Germany, joined his friends on a holiday to Bulgaria in 2014, but never made it back home. Years later, he was dubbed the most famous missing person on YouTube, as an airport security video of his last known sighting spread across the internet. He has never been found despite millions of people viewing the Lars Midtank video online. Moments before boarding his flight back home, Midtank fled a busy airport in Varna, suffering from a head injury he had sustained during a fight a few days back. He disappeared into the forests surrounding the airport, never to be seen again. Lars Midtank has been missing for more than 6 years, And despite some compelling leads and his mother publicly pleading for information, the case appears no closer to being solved than it did the day he vanished. At age 28, he joined a handful of his school friends on a trip to Varna, Bulgaria. There, the group stayed at the Golden Sands Resort on the Black Sea coast. At one point during the trip, Lars Midtank found himself involved in a bar fight with 4 men about which soccer club was better. Midtank left the bar before his friends did, and they allegedly didn't see him again until the next morning. When Midtank finally turned up at the Golden Sands Resort, he informed his friends that he had been beaten up. Different friends offered different accounts, which in turn feature different details. Some told authorities that Midtank was beaten by the same group of men he clashed with inside the bar, while others claimed that the men had hired a local to do the job for them. Midtank's friends offered to delay their return until he healed up, but he urged them not to and scheduled a later flight. He then checked into a hotel near the airport where he began exhibiting strange erratic behavior. Hotel cameras captured Lars Midtank on video, hiding inside the elevator and leaving the building at midnight, only to return hours later. He called his mother and whispered that people were trying to rob or kill him. On July 8, 2014, Midtank entered Varna Airport. He met with the airport physician to check up on his injuries. The doctor told Midtank he could fly, but Midtank remained anything but at ease. According to the physician, Midtank looked nervous and asked him questions about the medication he was taking. Later on, Midtank was overheard saying, "I don't want to die here. I have to get out of here," before getting up to leave. After dropping his belongings on the floor, he ran down the hall. Outside the airport, he climbed over a fence, and once on the other side, he disappeared into a nearby forest and was never seen again. Number 3. The Phoenix Lights. On 13th March 1997, during the hours of 19:30 and 22:30, thousands of people saw a UFO sighting in Phoenix, Arizona. Due to the amount of eyewitnesses, the event has been described as the most famous UFO sighting ever. The UFO first appears in the sky in a triangular formation, roughly about the size of several football fields that slowly and silently move through the sky, blocking the stars as it passed over. Stationary lights were also witnessed. The official explanation from the government is that the UFO was just flares used for target practice. However, many people are not buying that and believe it was something more. Fast forward 24 years and we still don't know what the Phoenix Lights were. But now a lot more people are taking them and UFOs seriously. Dr. 𝐦𝐴 watched the Phoenix Lights arrive, and she's one of the few people with photographs of them. And for years, she stayed quiet, afraid of being branded crazy. In the last year and a half, there have been some massive bombshells in the UFO community. For starters, the US government says they're real and they were researching them. Look no further than videos from the US Navy that were leaked, and the US military has since confirmed were real and unidentified. Number 4. The mysterious death of 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞. The mysterious death of a retired electrician, 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞, in 2014 made headlines across the country. The 64-year-old was found near naked on Perranporth Beach with a sock and headphones stuffed in his mouth, having suffered significant yet unexplained injuries. To this day, investigators are unable to say whether he was killed, took his own life, or his death was an accident. In the last weeks of his life, he purchased a 10-kilogram weighted training vest and 2-kilogram ankle weights from Amazon, which were never located. It is unclear why Mr. Geal bought the training equipment, but he was not known to have exercised. To even begin to understand the case of 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞, one must return to his movements on the afternoon of Monday, February 24, 2014. At 8:30 a.m., Mr. Geal switched on his desktop computer. At 11:52 a.m., he was captured on CCTV walking past bridge tools on Gonvena Hill in Wadebridge, having left his home at St. Gill's house farther up the road. He was then seen on camera 18 minutes later withdrawing £100 in cash from the Barclays cash machine on Molesworth Street. Later, he spent £2.40 on a box of plasters and a newspaper. Mr. Geal then returned home, where he carried out an internet search on his computer on bus routes from Wadebridge to Truro, Newquay to Truro, and Wadebridge to Camelford. At 12:50 p.m., raised voices were heard from the flat. Just 4 minutes later, he was again spotted on CCTV outside Bridge Tools heading into the center of Weybridge. This time wearing a light blue raincoat which has never been recovered and carrying a rucksack on his back. He was wearing different clothes to those he was seen in earlier in the day, which was also out of a character for a man who took little interest in his appearance. It is believed Mr. Geal then caught the number 594 Western Greyhound bus from Weybridge to Truro, where he arrived at 6:14 p.m. He spent the next 30 minutes wandering around Truro City on his own, with CCTV cameras capturing him walking towards the public toilets at the Leats. At 6:50 p.m., he caught another bus which arrived at Newquay at 8:16 p.m. He was again spotted on CCTV walking around downtown, along Bank Street toward Marcus Hill and up East Street. After returning to Newquay bus station, he caught the 9:15 service to Perranporth. At 10:27 p.m., Mr. Geal was seen for the final time on CCTV, walking along Beach Road in Perranporth, close to the spot where his body was found. At 2 p.m. the next day, an off-duty police officer and his wife were walking along Perranporth Beach at high tide when they found Mr. Geal's body about 30 meters in front of the Watering Hole Bar. A witness who worked at the bar did not see Mr. Geal's body on the morning of the discovery. He said he would have definitely seen it, meaning it must have come in with the tide later that day before being found at 2 p.m. One theory was that he died as a result of indulging in an act of autoeroticism, which involved putting the sock in his mouth. Parts of the dunes at Perranporth are understood to have been used as a nudist site. The pathologist, Dr. Jeffrey, described how Mr. Geal had suffered significant injuries to his chest, torso, spine, head, and brain. While Dr. Jeffrey said she couldn't exclude a scenario where Mr. Geal suffered the injuries while lying in the water, she said they were much more likely to have been sustained as a result of a fall from height. There was also an unexplained wound on the palm of his hand which resembled a cut. Dr. Jeffrey said the injury could have been caused by a sharp object in the sea, but she could not rule out contact with a knife, although there were no other possible stab wounds on the body. Other features found significantly support drowning, including heavily waterlogged lungs. Water could easily have bypassed the sock in Mr. Geal's mouth, she said. She addressed Mr. Geal's purchase of a 10-kilogram weighted training vest and 2-kilogram ankle weights shortly before his death, which have never been located. It is possible the vest was worn and then washed off Mr. Geal's body, she said, but there was no evidence that Mr. Geal wore any of these items at the time of his death. If you enjoy these mysteries, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the video. That would help me grow immensely.